AI, you can't escape it these days. End of episode. James?
Raf.
Listener, thank you for joining us. If you haven't listened to any of our previous episodes, as in the last, I guess, 2 if you're free, or I guess, and 4 if you're premium, we are in the silly season, and so I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I'm gonna be honest with you, and I know it's crap to kind of drag you out of that idea that I'm just right here talking to you right now, and this is like a real-time exchange of information. But we did record this on the silliest Monday of the year, which is Monday the 23rd, and we recorded like 6. Well, I think this is going to be episode 5, maybe. I don't really know, but we're recording a marathon session, so just understand that you're coming in a few hours into it. We've had friends in, it's all happening. So that's some context for where we're at. But we got a red hot. That don't be like, holy shit, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Don't get the hell out of here.
Because we got a great episode.
Isn't it always a great feeling when you show up at a party at like 10:30 p.m. And it's not a rager? And I'm not talking like you coming in at 10:30 p.m. and like music's loud, it's pumping, everyone's like, where have you been? I'm talking about like
someone's crying.
Guy's house, downlights are on. People are kind of just like sitting around in the couch as UE boom.
Yep.
There. Like the screen door is open and someone's outside smoking in the garden and you can only make out their silhouette. And you're like, oh, who's that? And then you don't know 60% of the people there. They're like friends of friends.
Yeah. There's some guys playing PlayStation.
Someone's playing PlayStation. And like, they've all clearly been somewhere together, so you're not part of the narrative.
No, yeah, they've been drinking since midday.
They've been drinking since midday. That's the vibe we're trying to cultivate here. And I'm just saying that sometimes those end up being beautiful moments.
Yeah.
And you make lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
I would say maybe 5 to 10% of the time. Max.
The rest of the time, you stay for around 25 minutes, and then you
move
go
on
to the fridge, you grab the 4 beers you have left, and you leave.
All right, so we've talked about a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
On the previous episodes you've probably heard over the past couple of weeks. But now is the time for reflection, and it's the time for one of the core down round values, accountability.
Accountability. Number 1 down round value.
Number 1 down round value. Now, last year we attempted a bit of an accountability.
Yeah.
But we're going to be brutally honest. I don't think the process was airtight. We weren't 100% sure on the predictions we had made.
No, we looked at the title of old episodes and then we're like, I think we predicted this.
I think we predicted, and let's be honest, when you think about it in those terms, it's going to end up being maybe
less than rigorous.
Maybe too favourable. Because you look back at the title of the episode and you say, we probably got that correct, 100%. Not necessarily true. But thankfully this year,
technology has marched on and has enabled us. Technology is an enabler.
Technology has enabled us. I've uploaded not every episode, but a representative sample of episodes.
Well, like 50 episodes or so.
A little bit more than 50 out of the 100 or so. And I excluded ones where I don't think we made much by way of predictions or big claims, mostly informational ones. And I've put this into Google's AI and I've asked it...
Notebook LM. Let's be specific about what we're using here.
The tooling?
In the spirit of accountability.
Yep. Well, I've uploaded all those episodes. It has transcribed them. It has them all in its back end and has allowed me to query what predictions we made in these episodes.
Yeah.
Now, it's taken a very expansive view of that.
Of the word prediction,
sometimes it's things that were offhanded remarks that I don't think had a huge amount of rigor to them. It has assumed was a Nostradamus-style prediction. Also, it doesn't know who made the prediction.
Yeah, I don't think it knows whose voice is who.
No, it doesn't. So I think this is healthy, actually, because I'm accountable for what you say. You're accountable for what I say.
Yeah, exactly. That's what in a business, you're not like, oh, well, I want to buy shares in Johnny Ive, but not in.
We are a legally registered partnership.
We are
with ASIC.
This is true.
We go down.
We go bankrupt together. We go boom together.
That's exactly right. So I've repeatedly asked Notebook LM for more and more predictions that we made, and some of them do get a little bit Baroque towards the tail end as it's scrambling to find things that we might have said. But I think it does actually capture a lot of themes of things that we brought up. So I'm going to go through the list.
We're going to reflect. Were we right? Were we wrong?
Exactly right. The big one that came up immediately. One host predicted that Threads would be the most popular social media text app by the end of this year.
I suspect that was me.
I suspect that was you. I suspect strongly that was you.
Now, I'll put my hand up and say I was wrong. X is still the predominant social media text app. Although, caveat, I don't think Elon Musk would describe X as a text app. I think he would describe that as the everything
The
app
everything app.
that does everything. Whereas I think Zuckerberg would be quite clear that Threads is a text app. So I'm going to say I absolutely nailed that prediction.
Wow. Great. By your own metrics, you nailed that. Although, I am fascinated to know what their plan is with Threads.
I know. I mean, the plan was, I think, they need, in order to keep costs down for advertisers, as we've discussed time and time again, but if you're new here or if you forgot, which fair enough because it's a boring point, they need more inventory. Inventory in this case is like places to put ads. Meta, the more people sometimes like look at Meta, this happened before, and like they see prices going up and they're like, oh, this is good. They're going to make more margin. It's like, no, Meta don't want prices going up. They want prices staying low and just expanding the places they can put ads and just generating more revenue that way. Threads is an obvious one. They can put more ads. At the moment, kind of hard to monetize. Do people really like it? This, that, and the other. But that's the point of Threads, right? It's like another place to put ads.
Yeah. Although there was one thing I thought was kind of interesting. There was a post, I opened Threads and had a look kind of recently.
Because the numbers are half decent, let's be frank.
Yeah, the numbers are, but it's kind of like...
It's like what constitutes a daily active user or a monthly active user.
How are you calculating that? There are so many integrations with Instagram and whatever. Like, are you showing that as like engagement with Threads content when someone looks at a Threads post within Instagram? Like, what is actually the basis? Because I've never heard a single person in real life ever talk about how they saw something or posted something on Threads. It has never happened. The only times I have conversations about Threads are on this podcast.
Yes.
No one else talks about it. But there's obviously stuff going on there. And like I open it up and it seems like the only thing Mark Zuckerberg uses it for is to talk about Threads. But he was in a conversation with someone and they were grousing about Blue Sky basically. And they were like, Blue Sky is like old Twitter. Power accumulates to a handful of accounts, like big follower accounts, and like their content gets really big. But Threads, if it's a banger, the algorithm will identify it as a banger and will show it to everyone. Which is kind of, and I don't even think X really talks about it in those terms.
No.
It's a bit more TikTok-y in terms of how...
But I actually think that it's true in the sense of, that's one of my problems with Blue Sky is that I do think that like almost objectively it's less entertaining because it just doesn't show you that psycho highly engaged post from outside your circle.
No, it is. I mean, there's two things that I've noticed from using Blue Sky a bit more, and like I do read it regularly now.
Yeah, I'm trying to use it more.
Yeah. One, where it's like you can actually like run out of posts to look at because it's not algorithmically funneling to you, and you can use some of the
other tabs, but they don't have the like popular with friends and stuff.
Yeah, which is a fine. Sometimes there's good stuff on there, but it's nothing like.
Well, you can tell that the algorithm just hasn't been juiced enough, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't have enough juice to give you the psycho stuff.
No, but on the other side, the thing I think is interesting, and it's not even trying to be like a friends app where you talk to your friends, but like it naturally becomes that because there's no algorithm, and it just makes me go like, I don't think this is actually the way it. Because like the people I follow on Blue Sky, some of them are my friends, but a lot of them aren't. But it did make me go like, God damn it, I do miss when social media, there was social media that was just...
Well, it's way less addictive, which is actually a good thing. It's like I go on and I'm like, oh, here's what my friends are reading and thinking about and talking about and what they're doing in their life. And...
Well, see, I think it is...
But not just friends, and people I like.
Yeah. It is kind of still addictive because I feel like I spend as much time on there. But there was a point a long time ago where... You would open Facebook and see just your friends. Instagram was mostly your friends, whereas now there's
no place for that.
A ton of weird reels. It's and Blue Sky is the closest to recapturing that, but it's not quite there. But I think Yeah, no, you're not even right about Threads being the biggest by numbers.
No, X is the biggest by numbers.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was that weird article that came out like a few weeks ago that was like, Blue Sky has more users than Threads on the browser, on the desktop. And everyone like flipped out and kind of ignored the fact that it was like talking about like on the desktop or whatever. And so, well, okay, sure. But I said before I made that prediction, I said before we knew what the name of it was going to be, in fact, I probably made that prediction before we knew the name of it, that it should just be integrated into Instagram. They did not do that.
Yep.
I reckon I was right. There should be a tab down the bottom of Instagram that's just like Threads. They may still do that.
No, they've got a lot of levers they can pull. Okay. What in episode reference, one of the podcast hosts predicts that by the end of 2024, 7 days,
Okay.
50% of 20-year-old men will have an AI wife. Now, I think the AI has verbalness on this.
Yeah, I think that might have been said slightly in jest or like as a funny prediction.
But maybe not. Maybe we were being serious about that. 50% of 20-year-old men will have an AI wife. That's a big one.
I don't think that that's true, but we don't know.
We don't know. And I think,
as we've said time and time again, if you want to look at like the businesses that are built on top of AI that are highly profitable, it's character AI. It's the AI companion apps.
It's companionship stuff. Yeah, and like that's not going away. And there's like a lot of think PC kind of stuff in the mainstream media. New York Times, Wall Street Journal. They've all done like
20-year-olds are having AI wives.
Are having sex with their AI wives kind of story. And what does that mean for human reproduction? And
50% is a high bar.
50% is very high. I don't think we're going to get there, but
I think directionally correct. I'm going to put that as a directional W.
Directional W. I mean, there's a lot of mild hysteria about it at the moment, and justifiably because it obviously seems to be a thing. But yeah, I guess it'll shake out whether it's like, the small portion of the population that do weird stuff in any circumstance, but
like the people who were fascinated by anime or whatever before are now doing this shit, or is it like a greater societal thing where it's like 50% of 20-year-olds will have an AI wife?
I mean, but the other big thing is that they really want us to be using voice personal assistants and whatever that have personality because they want it to be engaging. That's inevitably going to lead to people
falling in love with,
maybe not falling in love, but certainly having some sort of weird parasocial connection with their assistants.
Yes,
but yeah, 50% of 20-year-olds. That's
a bold claim. I can hear myself saying it a year ago potentially.
That would be that has some civilizational alarms attached to it. I think.
But I suspect I said it in jest. If I said it, it might have been you. It could easily have been you.
It could have been me. Well, this is a recent W, which I don't think we can really take any credit for. One of the podcast hosts produced that OpenAI will announce something about Sora in their 12 days of shipments announcements.
I think it was like a fortnight ago.
It was a fortnight ago, and we were correct. It was like the first thing they announced. Although I will say, like we haven't talked about now that it's been released.
But Google just crushed them.
Google released VO 3. It's like their video model. I dicked around with Sora a bit. There's kind of like this. There's some interesting interface things. Like it's got like a timeline editor view where you can like stitch together things. It's like as an interface, it's interesting. But I didn't find any of the video output all that compelling. Some of them look really cool. If you look at the featured feed on Sora.com, you will see some stuff that looks cool. But the majority of inputs that I put in, I tried some simple ones and some more detailed ones. You can instantly tell that they're AI. They've got like weird floaty physics.
Yeah.
Lack of consistency. They don't look compelling.
It's the same as early images where like you'd see the best ones and be like, whoa, that does look good. And then you'd use it and be like, mine will look shit.
Yeah. And like it must be an absolute beast to run because you only get 50 generations a month. Which I thought was low, but then again, I started using it and I was like, I'm not going to make 50 of these because they're not.
Yeah, but like if someone who wants to, this is why they have like that $200 tier or $250, whatever it is tier. You know that in a month's time, there's going to be a bunch of friggin' feature films out that are all AI generated. And I, for one, am not going to watch any of them. But you know that people right now are friggin' whirring away, tweaking their prompts, like, trying to get their friggin' movie, doing like a solo movie and getting the PR of like, this person alone at home made this Batman friggin' sequel or whatever it is.
Yep.
Well, it won't be that because obviously they've removed all copyright. But, some feature film.
But yeah, Google came out with the VO3, which looks a bit better. And also there's a ton of... This is the one area where like the Chinese developers are doing quite well. They've produced a bunch of like video models that look good, and they're also available through like their social apps. But again, I'm not super... I feel like obviously this is going to improve really quickly. Like we got from shitty AI images to compelling ones pretty quickly. But
oh no, this is like... I mean, I've said this before. Right now they look shit, but in a few years' time they'll probably look a lot better. And the idea of like interfacing with content and believing that it to be real, I think, is something we can live to, the dust of history, the sands of time. Like we will look at things at some point. I think I predicted this 2 years ago or something, or maybe last year, about like, look, the default for looking at content will be thinking it's fake. I don't know if Notebook LM has pulled that prediction out. It hasn't happened, but we're getting close. And in a few years' time, the default position for looking at content, like video or image content, will just be, I assume it's fake, and then it'll be surprising to me that it's real.
yeah, although I guess the counterpoint to that as well is we had these conversations back when Photoshop became a thing. There was a very similar parallel conversation where it was like, you're never going to believe anything again. And people sort of just updated their priors about how they interpreted things.
Yeah.
I don't think... I mean, there's
been... But they updated their priors with the idea being like, that'd be too hard to Photoshop, or like that's an incredibly sophisticated Photoshop job versus like, I don't know, I feel like it's easier.
Yeah, no, potentially.
The marginal cost goes down.
I mean, you can right now the stuff you see of like a generation of a person talking look pretty compelling. Yeah, I mean, I think it is qualitatively different, but
like, don't get me wrong, when I see like Hitler marrying Mark Zuckerberg with like Mew being the wedding celebrant, I'm not like...
I think that's real.
Is this real?
I think that's real. Many people have seen Grok, which is now available to free X users, is quite good at generating photo style things, and it also is really good at like actually generating people, whereas the current other AI things tend to resist doing that, except with like really popular people. Like I tested Grok and I did like a bunch of random Australian politicians, and it did them quite well.
Yeah, right.
Like it can do obviously Albanese and Peter Dutton really well, but also some lesser names that you would think would not be in its data set. So that's interesting. That's why you can get, Hitler marrying Drake with Mewtwo as the celebrant. It's a picture that we mentioned that twice, but it's a picture I saw today.
And you showed me, and I was like, okay. Cool.
Wow, okay, now we're cooking. Yep. One of the podcast hosts predicted that Netflix will start running advertisements. Okay, I think it's...
Nailed it. Bang, 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 bang.
And we'll get into the business of broadcasting live sports. Oh, my God.
Oh, yes.
I think that was publicly available information at the time we made it.
No, it was not. Your boy predicted that. Down on W, throw up your dubs. Thank you.
Here's another dub for you. No one was saying this until we said it. Now everyone's saying it. One of the podcast hosts predicted that practical applications for quantum computing are still at least 10 years away.
Now the dub.
Actually, I don't know. Well, I mean, Google released their chip. I mean, I think it's all a bit of faff, to be honest.
Literally everything we said applies. Everything in our quantum episode applies to this. They did the thing where they were like, it would take a standard computer 10 gazillion years to do what this could do in 5 seconds. Like, how long did it take you to get the information in? How long did it take you to get the information out? And what was the actual process? Something that's like cracking, like some encryption type device where it's like, yes, sure, if a standard computer ran in sequence attempting to like throw random numbers at a thing that either says yes or no, it would take a while. Is it particularly useful? No. But regardless, I'm not saying quantum computing is bunk. I'm just saying, like, is it the entire next paradigm of computing? In my opinion, no.
Yep.
Is it going to be useful anytime soon? Again, no. Will it be useful in the future for cracking encryption and potentially for like understanding physics? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the encryption thing is obviously a big topic.
Yes.
And there's a ton of very highly valued companies that do like quantum security
Yeah.
with the entire goal of like, we are safeguarding your information from a threat that doesn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, Apple, no, don't get me wrong. That is going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Like, quantum will be cheap enough and efficient enough that you can crack
Virtually anything.
our current version of encryption. So if there are data sets right now that have, like, encrypted data sets that people have downloaded because they've friggin' hacked someone and they've downloaded their encrypted file systems or whatever, those will be able to be historically cracked for sure with quantum computing in, like, when it's cheap enough for anyone to run and throw these data sets at. That said, in my opinion, is quantum computing,
It's palaver.
I think it's a little overhyped. That's...
Yeah, I mean, it is incredibly hyped at the moment. And also, Australia seems to think that we're going to play a significant role in it.
We do have a...
We've got a handful, like,
and like it's big at University of New South Wales, etc. Like,
we've got a handful of startups.
Yeah.
Obviously, what was it called? The big one that the government invested in. PsyQuantum, which was the company that got $1 billion from the Australian government and the Queensland government, which is founded by Australians, but it's actually based in California. And there's a handful of local quantum startups as well.
But I wouldn't say this is down and dub. This is just like a reality where it's like quantum is over. I could have made that prediction 10 years ago.
No, it's not down and dub. I think it's very well built into the...
It's like quantum is overhyped and a long way away of actually providing any value whatsoever. Yes, one day it does seem like it'll provide some value in a couple of very specific niche areas, but we can make that prediction every year and we'd be right until it's finally wrong.
What else have we got on this list? One of the podcast hosts predicted that the price of Bitcoin will reach $100,000 US.
Now that
we nailed that. Obviously, we said that while it was valued at like 97,000.
No, it was about 80. It was about 80
on an upward trajectory.
It was when Trump got in.
Yeah.
When Trump got in, it was like, okay, it's going on.
Yeah, and it did. And actually, is it work?
No, it dropped significantly with the US feds.
Yeah,
with the Fed said that like they were looking at more like 2 rate cuts next year, not 4 or 5, and so Bitcoin dumped.
Yeah, and now it's at 95.
Well, everything dumped.
Now it's at 95.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, we will take that. We also predict another banger prediction. Meta's second generation reality glasses will be much better than the first generation.
That's a prediction? Okay. Well, I guess we don't know, but you'd hope so. I think, maybe Notebook LM is struggling a little.
It's struggling. Here. It's certainly struggling. The podcast
not a particularly bold prediction.
The podcast hosts predict that by the time listeners hear that episode, the global stock market will have either experienced a major crash or recovered from the dip they were experiencing at the time of recording.
Absolutely nailed that one. Absolutely nailed it.
We provided only two possible outcomes, and one of them was true. It recovered almost immediately. I seem to recall that episode. Actually.
Yeah. I think this was the what was it? There was the yen carry trade.
There was the yen carry trade. It was indeed, yeah. One of the podcast hosts predicts that Apple will release a new Apple Watch band that uses MagSafe technology to create a closed electrical loop around the wearer's wrist.
Yeah, but that was you. Yeah, that was me, but that wasn't this year.
No.
That was like when they do AR and whatnot. Yeah, I still think that's true. Yeah, carry on.
Augmented reality will eventually become so ubiquitous that it'll be used to display personalized information about the people you encounter in real life.
That's hope so.
Long-term thesis.
Yeah.
Still
potentially right.
In 5 years, Amazon will require 1 gigawatt of power to run their data centers.
Well, that was based on them buying the nuclear power plants. So, I mean, yeah, still in play, still live.
One of the podcast hosts predicted that Apple's Vision Pro would be available in Australia on July 11th.
I think we nailed it.
I think we read it on the website.
Thank you, Notebook LM. Yes. That was a prediction.
So we did predict at the end of last year when we did the same episode that AI would hit a wall in 2024.
I'm going to put that down as a low-key dub because right now the conversation right now in AI circles is has AI hit a wall? Have the models themselves hit a wall? We've slurped up all this data. There's no more data to get. A year ago, the theory was it's okay. We just need to throw more GPUs at it. at the data we have, which is all of the entire internet, and will be able to make better models. But they haven't been able to. And so all of the, as we've said before, the innovation is coming at the inference side. It's like the O1, now O3, whatever it is. It's products built on top of it. It's kind of multimodal stuff. But like at the foundation model level, they kind of haven't really taken leaps and bounds ahead of it. I think that was a fantastic prediction. We're probably on that before most people in that like...
Yeah, I mean, we were right on the sense that, yeah, they have clearly hit some sort of, at least a hump. I don't know if it was a wall or not.
But the fact that literally, and I'd say like it's been the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe, this has been the hot topic. Has it hit a wall? The fact that it's even a conversation shows that something's happened.
Yeah, I mean, GPT-4 came out on 14th of March 2023.
Yeah, okay.
So over a year ago.
Well, I mean, nearly 2 years ago.
Nearly 2 years ago.
1 year, 9 months ago.
And every single, foundation model, I mean, obviously they're doing the reasoning stuff, but every single foundation model was basically chasing GPT-4. Like Claude 3.5 or Claude 3 and then 3.5, Gemini, whatever, Grok, they all sort of measure themselves. They all call themselves like GPT-4 class models. And yes, there have been incremental improvements. GPT-4 is now 4.0 and they've got Claude 3.5, but nobody is pulling the trigger on
the next one.
We have something that's like a step change above that.
Yeah.
And
that's hitting a wall, mate.
Yeah.
Big down round W. Sirens off. Vuvuzelas out. Let them wail. If you listen to down round, you would know that 12 months ago.
Yep. And there was reporting in The Information. Actually, no. Wall Street Journal 2 days ago. The headline on the Wall Street Journal is actually, the next great leap in AI is behind schedule and crazy expensive. OpenAI has run into problem after problem on its new artificial intelligence product, codenamed Orion, and it's GPT-5. It's been in the works for 18 months. It isn't clear when or if it'll work. There may not be enough data in the world to make it smart enough. I guess,
Let's call it a dub.
Let's call it a dub.
Call it a dub.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can expect that GPT-5 will come soon. And actually, when I said the information before, I was referencing a story from last month, citing anonymous OpenAI employees. The report claims that the Orion model has shown a far smaller improvement over its GPT-4 predecessor than 4/3, isn't reliably better than its predecessor at handling certain tasks, etc. So I think that, what that shows is like the current model does clearly have some bottlenecks. But with this O3 stuff, they're talking about being good at...
And with certain specific tasks.
Tasks. Like
complex mathematics, blah, blah, blah. But realistically, is that relevant to 99% of their customers? No. I mean, they're earning a shitload of money from subscriptions, spending more, obviously. Yep. But, is that actually make it better for most customers? Yep. No. So interesting one. Like we want it to be at a master's level. We want it to be able to give us information on topics at the level of someone posting an HD or a distinction level master's thesis, and it's not there yet.
Yep, totally. All right, we'll call that a dub.
It is a dub.
So I did repeatedly prompt it to ask for more predictions, and it was really struggling to find some. And it said one of the podcast hosts predicted that the Australian government will eventually create a TikTok competitor. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember you saying that.
I don't know. It rings some kind of... Like, we do talk about Service New South Wales app a fair bit.
Yeah, no, there was another bit in here about Service New South Wales becoming Australia's everything app, and we predicted that was going to happen. Oh, no, MyGov.
So we're saying... it's the same thing. The federal government, so MyGov, everything app, TikTok competitor. It's genius.
One of the podcast hosts predicts the Australian government's MyGov website will eventually become a super app similar to WeChat in China. He believes that the Australian government is missing an opportunity to create a one-stop shop for citizens to access government services, make payments, and interact with each other.
Genius.
But he, I believe, refers to you.
No, look, I doubt I put a timeline on that. I think that was more just like an idea. Rather than prediction, that was like, they should do this. I can imagine myself saying that. They should do this. I can imagine you saying that.
Yeah.
You're putting this in my mouth.
I think
I can see you agreeing at the very least.
Google has sort of summarized this long list of predictions with the podcast hosts often joke about the fact they make a lot of predictions, that many of their predictions are wrong. However, their predictions are often based on a deep understanding of current trends in technology and business, and they can provide interesting insights into the potential future of those industries.
We're futurists.
I'm a futurist. I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn. You know how people put shit in their like the subtitle or like the headline? I think it's called the headline. And it's got like futurist.
Body language expert.
Philanthropist.
There's some good ones. Anyone can say them.
Leader. Leader's a big one. And then they'll have like a hobby in there as well. Cyclist.
Yeah. Loves a glass of wine.
Father.
Father, yeah, Arsenal fan. Go the Gunners.
Yep.
That kind of gear. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, we should call ourselves, after today's performance, which I'd say was exemplary.
I'd say exemplary. Highly exemplary.
Have we not earned the right to call ourselves futurists?
I think so. There are people who are certainly lesser than us who call themselves futurists on the reg, who make unfalsifiable predictions.
I'm putting futurists in the same category as data scientists.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
That is, if you're
what is a futurist?
Right?
Like a person who thinks about stuff that might happen in the future.
Yeah, and then they do talks and be like, paid as a consultant to like tell businesses like, here's what the future's going to look like. But they're just people.
Yeah, they're consultants, but they don't without any rigor whatsoever.
No. They're like, I think about the future.
I think about stuff that could potentially happen.
Yeah. And no one's checking their work. And look at us.
We're checking our work.
We're checking our work every year without fail. Rigorous analysis of past performance so that we can be better for you. For you,
the listener. Exactly. Rigorous accountability. You're never going to get that from TEDx speakers.
Do they come back on like in a year's time and say, here's all the shit I said a year ago. Here's what's right. Here's what's wrong. Sorry, I fucked up.
They should force them to do that, especially if they're the people who aren't like who are just telling about a terrible thing that happened to them and trying to take like divine meaning from it. Yeah. That's a big theme. They should get them to come back in a year.
And be like, actually, I was wrong. Humanity is doomed. We're cursed.
I was wrong. My trauma didn't inform my life, and I gleaned no insights from it. And everyone's like, yeah.
Well, they should be because, we stand here before you naked. I believe I've said that before. That's not a prediction. That's about the present state.
That's a statement of reality. But I think, all right, do we then move to talking about what will happen?
Yes. And let's put it behind the paywall.
Another wonderful episode of Down Round completed, folks. And if you're hearing this, it means that you got all the incredible value from that episode and you've paid us nothing.
No.
But we're giving the opportunity to subscribe to Down Round Premium.
Yes.
Head to downround.net and subscribe for our premium product, and you will get an extra episode every week, plus access to our extremely lively Discord.
2.
And that's it.
No ads.
No ads. Sorry.
Well, as I said, fewer ads. We'll reserve the right to put ads.
I don't think we should say that in any of them.